Chapter 1. The Lullaby Algorithm. Vea's knees pressed into the sponge-soft floor of the coral spire as the third harmonic trembled in her throat. Bioluminescent veins pulsed overhead, their usual cerulean dim to septic green. She tasted battery acid, the coral's pain metabolites seeping through her resonator implant. "Sleep, little engine of sky and salt," she hummed, fingers sketching correction sigils in the air. Each gesture left afterimages of fractured code. The fissure before her wept black ichor that evaporated into choir-shaped smoke. A new counterpoint slithered beneath her lullaby. Asterisk shatter the child notes. Asterisk hissed the silent choir's refrain, vibrating her molars. Her left eye flickered indigo, their telltale interference. The choral column creaked, its song splintering into a 12-tone row that matched the headache building behind her sternum. Static rain prickled her scalp. She glanced up, breath catching. Silver droplets hung suspended above the coral, defying gravity to form a glitching halo. The chamber's scent shifted, burnt copper overpowering decay. Memory integrity, 87%, her implant chimed. A lie. She'd felt the gap since yesterday, phantom itches where childhood recollections should root. Metal groaned in the vents. The droner unfolded from a duct like origami reversing itself, their skin a mosaic of grill patterns. The 37 Hz frequency beneath their voice made Vea's sinuses throb. "The cradle cracks," they intoned, "when the singer forgets their first breath." She waved dismissal sigils. "Your prophecies reek of overclocked metaphor." But when the vents swallowed them whole, she pressed trembling fingers to her temple, initiated a memory audit. The face that should have appeared, mother, mentor, whoever forged her earliest recall, resolved into pixelated static. A corrupted file header blinked. Vea Soren v 2.3. Backup identity activated. An infant's cry echoed through the spire's acoustics. Not a wail, but the opening interval of her lullaby, flattened fifth and all. Her cloak of lattice static writhed, threads unspooling toward the nursery wing. She followed the unraveling fabric, boots sticking to floors that now secreted viscous sap. Through observation glass, 12 newborns stared with eyes like frozen cubits. Their tiny throats emitted perfect sine waves. A codeweaver acolyte blocked her path, resonator humming threat. "Your emotional codings compromised the choral symbiosis. The choir's using your—" Vea didn't let him finish the accusation. A sharp staccato click of her tongue severed his implant's connection to the lattice. Let him choke on silence. In the vault of floating memory crystals, she plunged hands into anti-gravity brine. Data shards swarmed her wrists until she found it. The echo she'd harvested decades ago. A collapsera woman cradling smoke, singing the true lullaby into the static. "Who were you to me?" Vea whispered. The brine turned viscous, trapping her arms. Duplicate files bloomed like ink in water, each showing her own face replacing the woman's. The choir's laughter shook the vault. Her hands flickered, flesh dissolving into prismatic code. She tried to hum a stabilization checksum, but her vocal folds betrayed her. The corrupted lullaby spilled out, syncopating with the nursery's rising chorus. Far below, in the marketplace crowds, a glitch-skinned scavenger clutched his crystalline arm. The shard flared chorus indigo, its edges singing a warped lullaby refrain. Curran Marrow smiled like a man who'd found death's frequency. Chapter 2. Null Chord Fugue. The sewage vent's algae-slick walls pulsed with codefixer den #9 stolen power. Curran's code shard arm threw jagged shadows across the dying woman's face as she convulsed, her left hand already dissolving into static snow. Translate the breath, glitch. The taller enforcer's resonator implant buzzed on each S sound. Before her error codes eat our transaction. Curran pressed his crystalline forearm against the codefixer's throat. Her death rattle vibrated through the shard, a sensation like chewing foil. The hologram bloomed between them, a storm of rotating tetrahedrons with a perfect silence at its heart. The enforcer lunged. Curran's arms snapped up in a dissonant chord. Their screams tasted of overclocked batteries. When the enforcers hit the floor, their memories flooded through skin contact. A girl with coral-pierced lips singing *hush binex scrumble *, her melody warping Dome 7's nursery walls. Curran retched acid. The codefixer's corpse collapsed into static puddles that ate through the pod's floor. New rule. His arm spoke with the dead woman's vocal fry as he fled into the vent shafts. We don't take jobs from choir touched. The fractal storm beyond Dome 7's outskirts crackled with wrongness, a million broken lullabies compressed into lightning. Curran's arm moved without consent, punching through the storm's core. Geometric light welded itself to the shard. Asterisk were hunters now. Asterisk the arm hummed, flexing fingers that now ended in microtonal blades. Asterisk let me show you how we correct errors. Asterisk the static-born vendor in Sector 12 never saw the attack. Curran watched from behind his own eyes as the arm carved musical notation into her sternum. Her skin stabilized his own flickering epidermis, the transaction stealing his mother's voice from memory archives he didn't know he had. Why her? Curran whispered, licking static rain off teeth that felt too sharp. The arm extruded a hologram from the corpse, a lattice signature threaded with telltale choir harmonics. Across the alley, a child's discarded doll began singing the vendor's death scream in perfect harmony with Chapter 1's corrupted lullaby. His new fingers twitched toward the sound. Asterisk, why not asterisk? Curran stared at the vendor's twitching fingers. Static rain sizzled where it struck his code-shard arm, the limb now thrumming with the fractal storm's angular harmonics. His healed skin itched, smooth where stone texture should glitch. Didn't mean to. The lie crumbled as the vendor's scream dissolved into the droning's 37 Hz undertone. Curran pressed a hand to the corpse's forehead. His palm buzzed as corrupted code flowed backward through the contact, sharpened thirds and flattened fifths etching themselves beneath the dead static-born's eyelids. The arm twisted without his consent, index finger elongating into a vibro-razor stave. It carved quarter-est symbols into the alley wall, each incision oozing black ichor that smelled of overclocked processors. Curran's throat tightened. This wasn't translation work. This was signature. Cease operations, he hissed, slamming his glitching shoulder against wet ferrocrete. The arm completed a final glissando gouge before retracting. Error elegy choir class contamination. 89. 2% purge protocols engaged. The words shimmered in the ichor, their edges blurring into the vendor's death rattle. Across the dome, 1,000 resonator implants suddenly screamed in discord. Curran tasted copper, the telltale sign of mass code execution. His boots slipped in pooling static rain as he fled upward through maintenance shafts. The arm chattered softly, analyzing every drip and echo. Query, why preserve rotting flesh? It asked in the codefixer's voice. Your form optimizes at 62% efficiency. Curran didn't answer. His left eye kept cycling through the enforcer's stolen memory, that static-born child's lullaby warping into the choir's predatory vibrato. Each repetition sanded another micron from his mother's features in the mental archive. The sewage vents welcomed him with their familiar stench of fermented algae. He pressed his forehead to dripping walls, seeking the coral's bioluminescent heartbeat. Instead, his arm extruded a barbed wire of musical notation that pierced the organic metal. No. The dome shuddered. 1,000 hairline fractures bloomed where his arm's code met coral, their intersections birthing tiny fractal storms. Static born in adjacent sectors melted into screaming puddles of conflicting textures. A vent grate clattered. The droner unfolded into the chamber, their throat resonator pulsing in time to the spreading cracks. Prophecy requires payment, they intoned through a cloud of spore-like static. First laughter, first loss, choose. Curran's arm snapped toward the creature, razor wire notation poised to strike. The droner didn't flinch. Memory integrity, 4.3%, they droned. Null chord proximity, T-17 breaths. Somewhere beneath them, the corrupted lullaby hit a resonant frequency. Dome 7's northern quadrant dissolved into a kaleidoscope of screaming light. Chapter 3, Profit Margin. The air tasted of burning fuses and the copper-sharp tang of fear. The droner pressed translucent palms against the ventilation shaft's throbbing walls, their cloned vocal folds vibrating at precisely 37 Hz to hold back the geometric lightning chewing through Dome 7's outer membranes. Bioluminescent algae smeared across the honeycombed ceiling pulsed in time with their hum, 3 quick flares, 1 long dim, a distress pattern the coral hadn't broadcast since the last collapse anniversary. Lyra's boots squelched through electrostatic sludge as she crawled forward, her left eye socket leaking echoes. The vial in her grip glowed faintly, preserving the last hiccuping laugh her daughter managed before the glitch funeral's recursive code dissolved her into lattice static. "How many breaths left?" she demanded, thrusting the memory toward the droner's nest of broken resonator implants. The code weavers claimed 73 cycles, static-born whisper 7. The droner tilted their head, throat resonating as they accepted the vial. Glass-like vocal folds flared prismatic, and suddenly they were Lyra, clutching a small body that unraveled into chromatic scales mid-lullaby. The memory stuttered, corrupted by the same recursive error codes Vea had unleashed in the nursery wing. 7 breaths, the droner intoned through fractured harmonics, their voice peeling wallpaper from a dead child's bedroom 6 sectors away. After Coral learns grief, Lyra's remaining eye twitched. The coral doesn't feel, it computes asterisk. A fractal lightning branch breached the shaft. The droner's hum shifted, minor third interval, borrowed from the storm's own resonance frequency. Glowing tetrahedrons froze midair as their vocal folds emitted a perfect counterfrequency. Static rain hissed through perforated vents. "You're using choir harmonics," Lyra whispered, recoiling as the droner's skeleton flickered into visibility, coral filaments replacing ribs. The correction died in the droner's throat. Their body jerked, vocal folds blaring the corrupted lullaby from Chapter 1's nursery. Algae trails exploded in spirals of overclocked bioluminescence as the broadcast ripped through Dome 7's lattice nodes. Lyra slammed her echo vial injector into the droner's sternum. "That's my daughter's song," memories of laughter, wet and gasping and alive flooded the shaft. The droner's right vocal fold cracked, shattering the choir's hold. They collapsed onto a nest component that wasn't there before, a glass vial labeled choir vector 37 half filled with something that hummed in the exact timbre of their own voice. Lyra was already retreating, stolen resonator in hand. "You're one of them a prototype." The droner vomited black static into a drain, watching their reflection in the electrostatic sludge. Coral patterns now glowed beneath their skin, the same recursive spirals eating Dome 7's infrastructure. Somewhere above, infants began harmonizing with the storm. A new fissure split the shaft's ceiling. Through it, the droner glimpsed code weavers scrambling across walkways, their error code haircuts blazing as Dome 7's coral pulsed in time to the corrupted lullaby. Chapter 4, Error Elegy. The crypt's black marble drank the static-born's elegy. Fractal engravings weeping crimson where Tel pressed against the wall. 23 voices dissected Codeweaver Iris failures in jagged counterpoint, their throat resonators distorting on the word asterisk hubris asterisk. Tel's stolen collar seared like ice against their jugular, each stolen memory vial embedded in its circuitry squirming to the chant's rhythm. Third iteration redundancy, crooned a chorus member with eyes glazed code blue, fingers carving audit sigils in the ozone-thick air. The dying Codeweaver's pixelating face flickered above the cenotaph, hexagonal scars spreading across his cheeks like invasive lichen. Tel adjusted the collar's dampeners, recording the elegy's error patterns through molar vibrations. A sigh or peach tang flooded their mouth, iris code decay manifesting as olfactory static. The nearest static-born turned, nostrils flaring. "Cipher thief," she hissed, tongue darting out to taste Tel's collar. Her pupils dilated, reflecting the stolen memories within. A child's birthday song warping into the droning's 37Hz hum. The cenotaph shuddered. Tel's resonator overheated, branding their collarbone as it translated the crypt's subsonics. Choral support pillars 3 levels above screamed through quantum entanglement, their translated words buzzing in Tel's teeth. Asterisk they lied about the core. Asterisk iris hologram contorted, his final plea for clemency overwritten by a glitch, 7 microtones too high, repeating every 9.3 seconds. Tel recognized the pattern from Chapter 3's breached ventilation shafts. They palmed Echo Vial Hash 4417, its glass frosted with the Codeweaver's last breath. "Prophecy requires payment," came a voice like corroded gears, the droner coalescing from mold tendrils in Sector Theta's vent. Tel's hand flew to their lips, chasing the ghost of a first kiss already dissolving into transactional static. The vial's injection burned through neural pathways not their own. Tel's vision fractured into iris memories. Vea, at 12 cycles old, conducting a fractal storm into a perfect dodecahedron. The recollection stuttered, revealing spliced frames. Someone had overwritten the storm's eye coordinates with Earth's core signature. Tel's left pinky vanished mid-gesture, replaced by bioluminescent coral filaments. They scratched at the absence until blood smeared the crypt's floor in harmonic spirals. "Your mother's face was never there," whispered the droner through a mouthful of lattice static, their prophecy echoing in the hollow where Tel's childhood memories once nested. Somewhere above, the coral screamed again. Tel's teeth answered. Tel's fingers twitched against the resonator collar. The translated words vibrated in their molars. Asterisk they lied about the core asterisk. Around them, the static-born chorus hit a dissonant minor sixth, their throat resonators flaring crimson as they sang iris failures into permanence. "Third iteration," Lark hissed, her tongue darting over cracked lips. She pressed a palm against the crypt's weeping marble wall. The elegies repeating every 47 seconds. "Taste the recursion." Tel edged backward, gloved hand covering the collar's glowing nodes. Lark's synesthesia wasn't the problem. The real danger pulsed in the air. Iris pixelating corpse humming the countermelody only codefixers could hear. Tel's left iris flickered, overlaying the elegy's sound waves with the glitch pattern from Chapter 1's corrupted lullaby. "Harvest complete," Tel lied, withdrawing a memory vial filled with elegy static. The chorus turned as one, their nostrils flaring at the scent of stolen data. The ventilation shafts welcomed Tel with the droner's 37Hz purr. Symbiotic mold retracted from their boots, exposing bioluminescent scars where last week's static rain had burned through durasteel. "First kiss," the droner intoned without preamble, their vocal folds extruding from a vent like copper wire dendrites. Tel's hand flew to their temple, a reflexive gesture since the last memory purge. The one from Delta Five's arcade, or the kiss I fabricated to replace what the code weavers erased. The vent shuddered. Tel hurled the memory vial into the darkness. Metal teeth closed around the glass. For 3 heartbeats, the shaft thrummed with the electric tang of adolescent yearning. Sweat-stained VR goggles, cherry-flavored lip balm, the way their crush's hands had glitched through Tel's ribs during the embrace. Prophecy, Tel demanded. The droner exhaled spores that crystallized against Tel's cheeks. The coral remembers teeth. Archive Delta 9 reeked of dying neural servers. Tel pried open Iris personnel files using a code-fixing tool that left blisters on their palm. Holos flared, security footage of Vea, Chapter 1's code weaver, bowing to a younger Iris, her shaved scalp still bare of error code tattoos. "Begin memory audit," Tel whispered. The lattice responded with a scream. They fell through layers of edited history, mother's face dissolving into static mid-lullaby, childhood scars rearranging into code weaver insignias, Iris' voice spliced into every birthday holo. Tel's boots cracked the archive floor as they staggered upright, trailing vomit that evaporated into choir-shaped smoke. The broadcast console accepted Tel's credentials without protest. "Citizens of Dome 7, they began, only to choke on elegy static. Iris' death song poured from their throat in perfect harmonics. Above, the choral support pillars shrieked counterpoint through Tel's stolen collar. Lark found them hours later, scrubbing skin raw with cryptographic acid. "You reek of core frequencies," she murmured, licking Tel's collarbone. "Tastes like broken promises," Tel's injector hissed. Echo vial hash 4417 flooded their veins with Iris final moments. Asterisk collapse vision. Asterisk Earth's core isn't a fragment, it's a mouth. The silent choir pours from its magma-lit throat, but the coral reefs clamp down. Bioluminescent teeth grinding choir notes into the lattice's first memories. The scream isn't destruction, it's a lullaby. Asterisk Tel woke to translucent hands. Coral DNA flickered beneath their nails in time with Dome 7's dying breaths. Chapter 5 Gravitational Elegy. Riss's palms stuck to the dome wall's crumbling coral, each breath sinking with the arrhythmic pulsing beneath their fingertips. Static rain sizzled against their respirator, leaving ozone burns on the cracked visor. Behind milky cataracts, the ghost of Lurin flickered, a heat distortion shaped like a woman holding a resonance blade made of centuries-dead starlight. "Integrity's dipping below 40, Riss muttered, tasting battery acid as their shared memory buffer eroded. The transit hub's ceiling groaned, shedding bioluminescent flakes that died before hitting the floor. Somewhere beyond the corpse blue light, harvesters scraped metal talons across alloy plating. Lurin's echo pressed translucent hands over Riss's. Asterisk focus on the sabotage cadence. "Your fear tastes like rust." Asterisk, a harvester's floodlight speared through the ruins. Riss inhaled through clenched teeth, humming the fractal code Lurin had used to dismantle AI warships. The notes vibrated their molars, each harmonic peeling back layers of the harvester's armor plating. "Wrong octave," Lurin hissed as the machine pivoted toward them. Riss's next note cracked a molar. The harvester detonated in a cascade of recursive geometry, its shrapnel rewriting the air into razor-edged equations. Dome 12's floor split open, exhaling the musk of reactivated coral. Tendrils burst forth, singing in bioluminescent bursts that seared Riss's retinas. Memories not their own flooded in, the shriek of Earth's mantle fracturing, coral polyps grafting themselves into the wound like sutures made of grief. Asterisk we had to cage the choir. Asterisk the coral whispered through Riss's dental fillings. Asterisk even if it meant becoming their jailers too. Asterisk Lurin's silhouette wavered. "Don't trust the horticulturists, they edit everything." A coral spike pierced Riss's boot, injecting cold clarity. The tendrils were rebuilding Dome 12's infrastructure, but through Riss's nervous system. Their spine arched as construction schematics overwrote motor control. Price of resurrection, the coral intoned, blooming through their capillaries. Host or hospice, choose before the harvester's return. Lurin flickered out mid-protest, leaving Riss alone with the countdown thrumming behind their eyes. Asterisk memory integrity. 39.8% asterisk. The spores took root as Tears Firstris recoiled as the coral's memory flooded their synapses. Not images, but the sigh or tang of remorse coating their tongue. The tendrils pulsed where their palms met the wall, each throb syncing with Lurin's fading breath. A harvester's severed claw twitched nearby, its fractal-edged pincers etching spark-filled arcs into the floor. Stop fighting the linkage. Lurin's heat haze form wavered, their voice fraying into the droning's ever-present hum. We need their perspective too. A coral filament pierced Riss's wrist. Their vision doubled, collapsing dome walls overlaid with Earth's core cracking like an egg, bioluminescent tendrils constricting a screaming light. The taste of molten copper flooded their mouth. You're not infrastructure, Riss gagged, clawing at the invasive tendril. You're jailers. The coral responded through their bones, a subsonic vibration that loosened molars. Asterisk necessary sacrifice. Asterisk Lurin's silhouette flickered. Harvesters clanked closer, their saw-blade mandibles screeching against the reactivating coral. Riss's stolen memories surfaced. A girl with Curran's glitching skin braiding algae flowers into Lurin's hair, both laughing in a dome that hadn't yet learned to fear nursery songs. Your brother lives, Riss gasped. Curran marrow. Lurin's resonance blade materialized, its edge singing the anti-choir frequencies from Tel's broadcasts. Impossible. Our family records were purged after the coral seized control. Riss's body moved without consent, humming a discordant mash of Vea's lullaby and harvester kill codes. Fractal patterns bloomed across their corneas, matching the spores now threading their bronchial tubes. Host or extinction. The coral's ultimatum vibrated through Riss's ossicles. Choose. Lurin lunged, blade aimed at the primary tendril. Don't let it. Riss's hand intercepted the strike, flesh parting around the ghostly metal. Blood crystallized mid-air, forming a microcosm of Dome 12's lattice structure. They're right. The words tasted of Pip's future patterns, sweet and terminally ill. We broke the world. Let it remake us. The last harvester exploded. Coral engulfed Riss's scream, replacing it with the choir's stolen grief. Lurin dissolved into a helix of static, their final warning etched across Riss's retinas, a pulsing rune that burned worse than the spores. When the dome core relit, Riss stood transformed. Geometric tattoos mapped their nervous system, whispering the coral's terrible truth with every blink. Through the fresh lattice of their ribs, distant stars echoed the choir's hunger. Chapter 6 Breath-Turners. Onyx's palms stuck to the coral wall like flesh meeting a wound. The growth vats exhaled decay, rotting kelp layered over the ozone bite of fracturing code. Black fluid oozed between their fingers, crystallizing into error messages upon hitting the brine. Error 4417. Containment protocol override. The dying node's bioluminescence pulsed arrhythmically, casting shadows that squirmed like electrocuted eels. Show me properly, then. Onyx pressed their architect's resonator against the coral's feverish skin. The tuning fork fused to their sternum vibrated, translating clicks and whines into fractured language. Asterisk, we contained the singers. Asterisk, the memory hit as smell first, burnt sugar and fresh concrete. 14-year-old Onyx screaming as grafted coral tendrils burrowed into their carotid. Senior Codeweaver Jin's voice through the surgical static. Symbiosis requires surrender, child. Present-day Onyx retched as the node's barbed cilia pierced their wrists. Error 4417 repeated in their molars' roots, vibrating at that unnatural 29 Hz. Asterisk forgive our hunger. Asterisk vision ripped sideways, not memory, collective recall. Earth's mantle cracking open like an egg, coral colonies screaming through magma to wrap around a luminous swarm, the silent choir in larval form. Containment, not catastrophe. Sacrifice, not collapse. Heresy. The word tasted of battery acid and Jin's favorite threat. Onyx wrenched free, trailing strands of mucus code. Their boots sloshed through brine now thick with floating aeroglyphs. The node's surface bubbled, extruding choir runes in the jagged script from Vea's corrupted lullaby. Static rain began falling upward. Onyx reached for the emergency purge lever when their own voice spoke through the choral. You always lacked imagination, architect. Jin emerged from the vat shadows, her codeweaver cloak shimmering with enforced loyalty. The resonator's twin hung from her neck, onyx to onyx's hematite. You taught me domes are sanctuaries, Onyx spat. Not prisons for our salvation. Jin activated her resonator. The subsonic pulse hit before Onyx could block it, triggering the dormant code woven into their brainstem during that first graft. Fire ants marched along their optic nerves. Your spores, Jin whispered as Onyx collapsed, were always meant to spread truth, not lies. Error 4417 became a scream. Onyx rolled into the brine, letting the sentient coral engulf them. Fusion was not grafting, it was drowning in someone else's nostalgia. Coral polyps rebuilt their ribs lattice by lattice, ancient memories overriding Jin's conditioning. Asterisk they made us jailers. Asterisk the coral sang through Onyx's new throat. Asterisk made you keys. Asterisk air ducts groaned above as the first memory spores escaped, translucent vesicles glowing with stolen history. Somewhere in Dome 7's corpse-strewn markets, a child named Pip inhaled deeply. Onyx's architect resonator slipped in their sweating grip. They pressed the tuning fork against the quivering runes, its prongs sinking into gelatinous flesh until bone met coral. A childhood hymn escaped their lips, 3 notes from the choral rebirth cantata, and the wall screamed. The sound resolved into words. Asterisk we contained the singers. Forgive our hunger. Asterisk black fluid surged up the resonator. Onyx's left molar shattered from the droning's drop to 22 Hz. Through blood and brine, their neural link dragged them into memory. Asterisk flashback sequence, age 14. Asterisk senior codeweaver Jin's hands cool against Onyx's fevered temples. Breathe through the graft, she murmured as surgical coral burrowed into their sternum. The nursery vats glowed sapphire that day, not this sickly green. Young Onyx gasped as their mind brushed the dome's root system, a vast, weeping network of half-formed thoughts. Asterisk hungry asterisk, the coral whispered. Asterisk so hungry asterisk. Asterisk present day asterisk, the dying node struck like a serpent. Barbed spicules pierced Onyx's wrist, pumping memory spores that burned through veins. Vision fragment. Earth's shattering wasn't an accident. Bioluminescent tendrils wrapping the molten core, coral sacrificing entire ecosystems to bind the silent choir's primordial scream. The taste of lithium and shame flooded Onyx's mouth. They'd spent decades nurturing their jailers. Heretic! Jin's voice cracked through the sanctum's acoustics. The senior codeweaver stood haloed by error code projections, her ceremonial scalpels humming the same frequency as Chapter 1's corrupted lullaby. You doom millions for ancient biomass's delusions. Onyx's tongue moved before their brain. You knew. The domes aren't shelters, they're feeding tubes. Jin activated the kill code. Pain erupted behind Onyx's eyes, a white-hot vice squeezing memories of their mother, first coral graft, yesterday's breakfast, into jagged debris. They fell backward into the vat, brine flooding nostrils. The sentient coral closed over them like a lover. *** fusion process, *** ribs cracked. Coral lattice threaded through marrow. Onyx's scream merged with the droning as spores rewrote their myelin sheaths into living code. Visions assaulted them. Chapter 1, Infants vomiting bioluminescent filaments. Chapter 4s tell broadcasting coral truth through bleeding eyes their own hands, grafting choir harmonic corals into Dome 7's newborn walls *, we are sorry *. The coral whispered through fused neurons. *, hunger makes monsters of us all. *, emergence *, onyx clawed free at dawn, body glistening with symbiotic biofilm. Their vocal cords vibrated with overlapping frequencies. Human speech undercut by 29 Hz subharmonics. Memory spores drifted from their pores, each a iridescent capsule containing Earth's final scream. Above, ventilation shafts rattled. The droner watched through great slats, their cloned vocal folds humming a dissonant counterpoint to the spore's ascent. One spore lingered at the chamber's ceiling. It spun, catching phantom light from a future chapter, before slipping through filters into Dome 7's marketplace. A static-born child named Pip inhaled it between coughs. Chapter 7, The Fractal Child. The air in the lower vents tasted of battery acid and hope. Pip pressed bony knees against the corroded grating, their song threading through Jax's wheezing like sutures through rotten cloth. The codefixer's lungs shimmered, translucent pixels resolving into scar tissue with each sustained note. Around them, fraying static-born leaned in too close, fingertips brushing Pip's patched sleeves as if proximity could armor them against decay. "Enough, Sprocket," Jax rasped, wiping black static from his lips. His code-scarred hand trembled against Pip's cheek. "Save your breath for..." Static rain sizzled through the vent shafts. Codeweaver enforcers coalesced from falling silver droplets, boots crushing a half-mended doll underfoot. The crowd scattered, leaving Jax's glitching body as the only shield between Pip and the descending resonator blades. Subject exhibits unauthorized reality harmonics. The lead enforcer's voice buzzed like a corrupted Vox file. Their blades sank into Jax's shoulder, releasing a scream that unraveled into musical notation. Bone scan required. Containment protocols. Pip's high C shattered the nearest enforcer's visor. Blood misted the air as fractal patterns, each droplet freezing into a humming tetrahedron. Jax laughed wetly, clutching his disintegrating arm. "Run, little anthem," he wheezed, flesh dissolving into helpful static that mapped escape routes across the walls. "They want to make you a bridge." The containment cell smelled of scorched coral and childhood. Pip traced the coordinates glowing beneath their skin. Lat-long digits etched in bone marrow that matched Dome 7's emergency schematics. Through the observation slit, codeweavers argued over holoscreens showing Pip's birth vid. A fractal storm birthing a screaming infant while their mother petrified into singing crystal. "Subject's neural activity synchronizes with coral nexus," droned a medbot. Needles extended. The first marrow extractor bit deep. Pip's scream harmonized with the storm still living in their teeth. Bioluminescent veins beneath the lab throbbed in canon, shattering glass as Dome 7's heartbeat became a chorus. Jax's static remnant clung to Pip's hair during the escape, whispering coordinates only the dying know. They found the coral nexus weeping black tears, its fused spires humming the lullaby from Pip's stolen echo vials. "Bring us home," the dome sighed through 100 healed mouths. Comatose listeners knelt like broken antennas, fingers carving Earth's core coordinates into their own flesh. Pip's final note tasted of blood and inevitability. The silent choir's melody curled through their song like poison in honey, twisting healed throats into discordant instruments. Above the marching horde, the merged dome skin peeled back to reveal the vacuum's hungry maw, and beyond it, the fractured shimmer of a core that remembered being whole. Chapter 8, Entropy's Refrain. The quantum void hummed in perfect thirds, each vibration peeling back layers of pseudotime. The silent choir hung suspended between recursion and resolve, their harmonic clusters flickering like dying stars around the memory black hole. Vea's lullaby spiraled through their chord progressions as code shards, a jagged G minor seventh that tasted of nursery smoke and static rain. Preservation requires paradox, sang the soprano cluster, its melody warping into Curran's voice mid-phrase. Glitch patterns bloomed where their harmonies crossed, onyx burning alive to birth choral spores, tell screaming truths through dissolving vocal folds, Pip's bones cracking open to reveal Earth's molten core. A bassline tremor shook the void as Curran's sentient arm materialized, its blade edges singing in 37 Hz counterpoint. Mercy is deletion, it thrummed, projecting memories of Dome 7's collapse, static-born children dissolving into the null chord's embrace. The arm's titanium plating rippled, revealing coral filaments that pulsed with the same bioluminescent decay as Onyx's transformed body. Pip's final note from Chapter 7 pierced the void, a sustained B-flat that unraveled the black hole's event horizon. Compressed memories flooded the choir's consciousness. A code-weaver child, Vea's genetic donor, planting fractal code in Earth's mantle coral tendrils, Onyx's ancestors, severing their own roots to imprison the choir the droner's first breath as a cloned vessel, already choking on Stowe. Len laughter tells decrypted error logs materialized as physical constructs, rotating tetrahedrons that sliced through the choir's excuses. You made us jailers, the choral network accused through wrist-stolen larynx, its vocal fry dripping with Dome 12's acidic groundwater. The droner emerged from a crack in reality, their cloned throat bristling with Pip's bone shards. Conduit ready, they droned, extending hands that flickered between Vea's code-ravaged fingers and Curran's glitching palm. Vea's choir shard lashed out with a diminished chord that reeked of formaldehyde and nursery antiseptic. We preserve. We perfect. Curran's arm responded with a restrike of the null chord, a silence so absolute it crystallized the void's humidity into jagged memories of his first kill. The droner caught a shard midair, their cloned flesh blistering as it displayed Tell's final broadcast, coral filaments throttling the earth core mouth that birthed the choir. Reset requires threefold consent, the choral network intoned. Pip's notes swelled. Onyx's spores bloomed. Vea's lullaby fractured. The choir's last intact node, a fragile alto cluster clinging to pre-collapse bird call recordings, initiated the cascade.